Welcome back to Horrors Worldwide. Today I'm going to explain a psychological American horror film called Mandy, released in 2018. Spoilers ahead! Watch out and stay safe. The movie starts off with a shot of a dense forest, which is undergoing a deforestation program. Red is a lumberjack working as part of the deforestation program, and he lives in a secluded cabin with his girlfriend, Mandy. At the start of the film, he and his fellow workers clock out for the day and take a helicopter back to their living spaces. Back in his cozy mountain cabin, Red is greeted lovingly by Mandy. In her free time, Mandy works on elaborate fantasy art pieces, which she shows to Red after he gets home, and which he greatly admires. By day, Mandy works as a gas station cashier. After showing Red her art, Mandy takes him to bed where they cuddle together and stare lovingly into each other's eyes. The scene cuts to a view of leaping flames filling the screen, and through the flames we see Mandy approaching, looking as though she is in a trance. Through the flames we can see that Mandy is looking at the torn corpse of a deer lying on the forest floor. It is unclear whether or not this is a dream. In the next scene we meet the Children of the New Dawn, a deviant hippie cult which is traveling via van through the Shadow Forest, where Red and Mandy live. On her way to work at the gas station, Mandy caught the eye of Jeremiah Sand, the egomaniacal and evil leader of the cult, in a moment of intense, fuchsia-colored eye contact. Fuchsia-colored? Huh. Anybody else getting color out of space vibes right now? Now Jeremiah is struck by her beauty and madly in love with her, and he is lying in the back of the van, looking and acting slightly demented. His second in command is worried, and Jeremiah tells him he doesn't understand the complexity of Jeremiah's love. Jeremiah then sends for one of his disciples, Brother Swan, and orders him to get a hold of the maiden for Jeremiah. Swan is to accomplish this mission with the help of the Black Skulls, a demonic biker gang from hell, which loves the taste of human flesh and carries a potent form of liquid LSD. Swan is proud to take on this crazy task for his leader, and Jeremiah smiles and strokes Swan's head. The disciples hatch a plan to figure out where Mandy lives so that they can kidnap her. One of the high-ranking disciples, Mother Marlene, goes to the gas station where Mandy works and strikes up a conversation with her in order to figure out where she lives. At night, on the border of the lake near Red and Mandy's cabin, Swan blows a mystically significant ocarina horn, carved from lava stone to summon the Black Skulls. With blue-tinted moonlight and billowing fog around them, it is hard to make out the exact forms of the demonic bikers, but they clearly look like something from hell. Swan offers them a jar of some mysterious liquid and promises a sacrifice in the future and orders them to kidnap Mandy for the cult. Inside the cabin, Red and Mandy are enjoying a normal after-work evening, relaxing in front of the TV and eating dinner together. After the two go to bed, the Black Skulls break into the cabin in a scene which looks like an LSD-fueled nightmare, where they stride into the cabin in their strange costumes, subdue Red, and tie Mandy up. When Mandy wakes up, she is tied to a chair in her kitchen, and Mother Marlene and another disciple, Sister Lucy, are sitting on either side of her at the table. They tell her that everything is okay, and that Mandy won't be hurt. The only thing is that Mandy belongs to the cult now. They then proceed to drug her with a combination of LSD and venom from a black wasp, before taking her to see Sand. Under the effect of this strange drug combination, Mandy has some distorted hallucinatory dreams, in which she meets Jeremiah Sand and the rest of the cult. Jeremiah apologizes to her for all the chaos and for meeting her in this fashion, but explains that the whole reason for this is that she called out to him silently. He goes on to tell her the purpose of the cult, which is that it is a music-based cult. Sand is actually a failed musician, but in his delusions he thinks that his music is the greatest thing about him. He then stands naked in front of Mandy and his followers and attempts to win her over with his psychedelic folk music. He also claims that he is in communication with God and that he has been ordained to take anything he wants. So taking Mandy was actually a divine act. At this, Mandy laughs hysterically, throwing her head back and making it clear that she finds Sand ridiculous. This infuriates Sand so much that he has an abrupt 180 degrees change of emotion, and is now intent on humiliating and hurting both Red and Mandy. He drags Mandy outside the house where Red is tied to a tree with barbed wire. Here he attempts to demonstrate what his own twisted version of true love looks like. Sister Lucy is forced to hold a gun to her head, crying yet unable to say no to Sand because of her love for him and the cult. However, she survives his sadistic game. Brother Swan then unveils a ceremonial dagger which is used to inflict ceremonial pain on Red. Finally, in his ego-fueled game, Sand has Mandy dragged out, tied up and contained in a body bag, and after hoisting up the body bag, they light it on fire, burning Mandy alive. After only ashes are left, the cult members gather all their things and calmly leave for their compound. After they have gone, Red manages to free himself and mourns over his girlfriend's ashes. He then goes inside where the TV is still on, from when he and Mandy were watching it. Exhausted and in shock, he falls asleep. He wakes up from a traumatizing nightmare and downs a bottle of vodka while tending to his wounds. All the while, he shrieks his rage and grief to the empty house. After he is recovered, somewhat, Red goes to his friend, Carruthers, who lives in a trailer. Here, he shares the events of last night with his buddy. This proves to be a good mood because Carruthers, who also looks stoned, shares the rumors he's heard of a mad biker gang roaming the mountains and terrorizing people. This gang compromises the hollowed-out shells of men, who used to be drug carriers, and who are no longer entirely human, as their souls have been hollowed out by LSD after they used a particularly bad batch, and now they feed on other people's pain. Red takes his crossbow, the Reaper, from Carruthers, who also gives him some freshly made crossbolts. Before leaving, Carruthers warns Red that his chances of survival are poor. Back at the cabin, Red forges a mean-looking battle axe and sets off to hunt down the biker gang. Red manages to track one of the bikers down and shoots him with the crossbow. He plans to finish off the biker with his truck, but in the ensuing chase, his truck flips over and he loses consciousness. When he wakes up, Red's hand is nailed to the floor, and one of the bikers is looming over him. This particular biker looks like a resurrected lake monster. Red manages to take him down with a broken pipe, frees himself, and grabs some weapons from around him before going downstairs. Here, he has a bloody battle with the rest of the bikers from which he emerges victorious after breaking the last one's neck. He searches the hideout and finds some cocaine, which he sniffs. Then he finds the jar which Brother Swan had presented to the Black Skull gang at the start of the movie and takes a sip. It turns out that this jar contains LSD because it causes Red to have some intense hallucinations, in which his face starts melting off. Outside, Red burns alive the few bikers left and then follows the road until he comes to a barn where the chemist lives. This mysterious man is a drug manufacturer and an empath, and he divines Red's desire for revenge. He tells Red where to find the cult who killed Mandy. They call themselves the Children of the New Dawn and live in a wooden church in a quarry. Red sets off and drives all night until he gets there. Once he gets to the cult's compound, Red kills Brother Swan and Brother Hanker with his battle axe. So badass. In a fitting tribute to Swan's silver tongue, Red kills him by driving the battle axe into his mouth. Brother Klopik attacks him with a chainsaw, but Red whips out his own chainsaw, and a duel starts. Finally, Red whips the chains off his chainsaw and wraps them around Klopik's neck, strangling and killing him. Red spares Sister Lucy's life because she was the only one sympathetic to his pain. Going on a killing rampage throughout the church, he discovers some tunnels beneath the church. Exploring these tunnels, he first comes across a wooden cross, and then he finds Mother Marlene and cuts her head off. Finally, he finds Sand, who is naked and praying, and taunts him by throwing the severed head of Marlene at him. Terrified, Sand at first tries to bargain with Red by offering to save his soul, and then resorts to begging him for mercy, but Red kills him. He ends his venge fest by setting Sand's body and the church on fire. As he is about to drive away, he looks at the passenger seat and has a flashback vision of Mandy smiling at him at a club. Red grins at her, covered in blood and looking completely deranged. The entire world behind him has a fantastical look to it, with strange skies and moons visible, as though he was on the surface of another planet. So that's our summary of the weird and psychedelic film, Mandy. What did you think of this LSD-fueled nightmare? I thought it was pretty awesome. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and tell us which movies you'd like us to summarize next.